Welcome back. Jiu-Jitsu 2000 here today. I'm coming at you with a quick video today, and what I want to talk about is optical drives. Now in this case I happen to have a DVD ROM slash CD burner, and we're running into a problem. The problem is when I push the button, the tray doesn't come out. So I'm going to share with you a simple solution that I like to use to fix that problem. So I'm going to plug in a little power here. Let's turn this around. And so now you notice when you push the button, nothing happens. All you hear is the sound. Nothing's happening, right? Tray's not ejected. So let's talk about it. Okay, the first thing that you're going to need to fix this problem is a screwdriver and a paper clip. The screwdriver, we're going to use the flat tip side first, and then eventually we'll use a small Phillips. So what we want to do to start the process is take this paper clip, and on these drives you see right here there's a small hole. What this hole is for is this is kind of like, for the lack of a better term, it's an emergency door open hole, I guess you could call it. So what we're going to need to do is we're going to need to insert the paper clip into the hole and push. Now you notice that kind of opened up the drive a little bit. That gives us access to grab this tray and pull it out. Okay, now you don't have to pull it out too far, just a little bit. We can set the paper clip aside. From here I want to note, let me see, you can't really see there, these small notches here. Let me raise my camera just a little bit for you. Okay, so you can see, whoops. So you can see the small notches that hold this front cover plate in. Okay, what I want to do is, again, taking the flat side of my screwdriver, I'm going to just kind of pry into these little notches here, and my plan is to take this front cover plate off. Just like so. Nothing too crazy. Okay, because I need to access the innards of this drive. Now, you might be wondering, why do these drives have problems? See, you notice I got that plate loose. The reason these drives don't want to eject is because there's a band inside of here, and over time they might get dusty, they might get dirty, things of that nature, and when that happens it makes it difficult to eject because the little rubber band, if you will, is losing its traction. Okay, so once you have the front plate loose and the tray open, we're going to flip the drive over, and on the back generally there's 4 screws. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And we're going to take those 4 screws out. With my Phillips bit. I hope I'm not boring you by making you watch me take all these screws out. I know some people they make videos, and when they have a section where they're doing something like this, they speed the video up. But we're not going to do that in my case. We're just going to show you exactly what I'm doing here. Okay, so I have the 4 screws out. Don't lose the screws. From here, what I want to do is I want to take this drive apart. I want to take this metal basically off of the drive. Okay, so kind of wiggle it a little bit. See that? I was able to separate this metal housing off of the drive. Now what I've done here is I've exposed the innards of the drive. Okay, now you see this small rubber band right here? This is the culprit to our problem. This is why you can see very closely that this is a little bit loose, and that's why this drive doesn't want to eject, because when this little motor runs, it doesn't run this pulley because it's slipping this little belt. So what we're going to do is we're going to take that little pulley, that little belt off. Whoops. Okay, so there's our little belt, and what we're going to need to do is clean this belt and both pulleys. So I'll be back with a little bit of Q-tip and alcohol, maybe a cotton ball too. Okay, so here's my little rubber band, if you will. I'm going to take a little bit of just isopropyl alcohol, put it onto my cotton ball, and I'm going to clean this little rubber band. Again, the problem with the drive, the reason that the optical drive won't open is because this little band and or the pulleys was dry or dirty. So I'm just kind of cleaning this little band. I'm running it through. See a little bit of dirt on there. I'm also going to take a Q-tip. Made a little bit of a mess there. But I'm going to take the drive and I'm going to use the Q-tip to clean the pulleys around the motor, and also I'm going to turn this pulley, just taking the alcohol, getting it in the pulley. Just want everything nice and clean. I like using the alcohol because it dries. See, so I'm just kind of opening and closing the tray, and that's turning the pulley, and it's letting that alcohol go in and out. So now that everything's dry, I'm going to take my little rubber band again and just kind of run it with this Q-tip between my thumb and my finger, or between my thumb and the Q-tip, and I'm just running it through. These drives sometimes will do this if they've sat for a long time. See all that black stuff on my Q-tip there? It just shows you all the junk I got off this band. So hopefully now it'll grab a little bit better than it did before. You can also take your Q-tip at this point. If you notice any dirt inside the optical drive, you can just kind of give it a quick cleaning. You see any kind of excessive dirt or anything, just clean it up a little bit. You're in here anyway. You might as well clean it up a little bit. You don't have to do that, obviously. It has nothing to do with the tray opening. It's just extra cleaning since you're in here. Okay, I got another little bit of alcohol on here, and I'm just going to go over the pulleys one more time. Very quickly. I think we have it. Now from here I'm going to take this little rubber band, now that it's good and clean, and I'm going to put it back on these pulleys. I'm going to start by putting it on the large pulley. and then using my paper clip kind of as a tool, I'm going to stretch it around the small pulley. Hopefully this will do. Hopefully this will fix our problem. Most of the time I've found that doing this fixes the problem. If it doesn't, I'll show you another trick for that. Okay, let's go ahead and put this thing back together and see what happens. Just going to kind of set everything where it needs to be. Make sure that this magnet up here is nice and free. Just going to lay this drive over. Get everything to kind of fit into place. There's these little studs here. I'll point to them. There's these little studs here I'm touching, and there's corresponding holes on here that goes around those studs. So you need to make sure all that stuff lines up. There we go. Now let's put the 4 screws back in. Whenever you work on this stuff, I want to stress that you never force anything or pry hard on anything or things of that nature. Things will fit in place if you're just patient and look at what the problem is. You know, when I first started working on stuff, man, I'd get frustrated because a screw wouldn't go in or something wouldn't go right, and I'd push harder. Well, I found over years that isn't a good way of doing things. Okay, so now we have the cover on, or excuse me, the metal parts back together. We're going to take this front plate, we're going to align it back up, put it back on. It just kind of pops into place. Everything kind of pops into place. Let's go ahead and close this optical drive. Okay, so we have the drive put all back together. Let's go ahead and plug in our power line again. Let's test this drive and hopefully it'll work. There we go, check that out. So that's one way of fixing the optical drive. I'll show you another way. Alcohol and things like that, and most of the time that works, but in the event that that doesn't work, here's another option. These are just miscellaneous rubber bands. Okay, you have small little rubber bands. Okay, these guys sometimes work also. Another option is if you have a child who might have like hair ties or something like that. Basically what you need is something new that's going to be tight, you know, that's going to be able to go on that pulley and let that motor turn that gear, which will open this tray. Okay, so here's another option. Okay, so you have a drive, and maybe we just did all of that mess, just, you know, maybe we just took it apart and did everything, and we couldn't get it to work, or maybe that old belt in there is just old and tore up. So without taking the drive apart, you notice I was able to pull that little belt off. Where did it go? There it is. Okay, so there's the old belt. You can replace it with something like one of these little rubber bands. Now, these little rubber bands, however, they don't last as long, but they will work in a pinch. So, in the event that this belt is bad, again, you can replace it with these small rubber bands. Now, a lot of times you don't have to take this whole thing apart like I showed in the video to replace these. If you can access that large pulley inside, you can put them on just with the tray open. It's a little harder, but it can be done. It's not easy. I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, it's easy, because it's not. You have to line it up, and it's definitely a little bit of a pickle, but can be done. Just have to be patient. So I'm going to work on this. I'm going to work on putting this little pulley on, this little rubber band, and I'll be back. Had a little trouble doing it from the outside, so I took this thing apart and I'm doing it from the inside. Might be because this rubber band's a little smaller than the original, but there you go. You can see that I've got it on there. Put this bad boy back together again. And we'll see how it works. I cheated off camera. I had my drill going. These screws don't have to be tight. Be careful if you have a plastic piece that you're going into, because you're putting a metal screw into a piece of plastic. Guess which one would strip first, the screw or the plastic? Obviously the plastic, so be careful. Okay, here we are. We have the small little blue rubber band inside. You can see it right there on the pulley. Let's try that. Let's close the door. Turn it sideways. Let's get some power to it. Let's take a look and see if that works. See that? Works good. And all that is just a standard rubber band. Obviously, if you can, you'd want to try to use the original rubber band because they're much stronger. But in the event that you can't, you can always use something like that. So anyway, I want to say thank you for watching the video, everybody. I hope you found some good, useful information. Please feel free, as always, to comment, share, like, thumbs up, subscribe, and as always, everybody, I hope you have a beautiful day. We'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye.